You know those books that feel, I don't know, less like stories and more like a window into like all of humanity? Well, today we're diving into one of those. Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace.
And what makes this deep dive so interesting for you is that the sources we have really highlight how this book, even though it's set during the Napoleonic Wars, it's like surprisingly relevant for today, for understanding the human condition and how society works, even now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like timeless in a way. So our mission today is to kind of pull out the core insights, the things that make War and Peace so powerful, but without, making you read the whole thing right now.
Right.
Okay, so beyond just like the battles and the historical figures, what's really at the heart of this novel?
Well, Tolstoy uses the Napoleonic Wars as this backdrop, you could say, but he's really focused on these big philosophical questions, the kind of things we all grapple with, like what does it even mean to be human? What role does destiny play in our lives? And those kind of unseen forces, the societal currents that shape everything.
And he explores those huge ideas through a massive cast of characters, right? Like it's not just generals and emperors making decisions.
Exactly. It's not just the people at the top. He weaves together these really intimate stories of people from all different levels of Russian society. And what's fascinating is how their individual journeys, their loves, ambitions, struggles, even their moral dilemmas, become this way for Tolstoy to explore those universal themes we were just talking about. So, when you follow someone like Pierre and his search for meaning, you're actually engaging with this profound question of the human desire for purpose, something we all relate to.
Now, here's what really blew my mind about this book. It's how Tolstoy portrays war. Like, forget those classic paintings with all the, the heroic poses and glory. He gives you war as it really is.
Yeah.
Chaotic, unpredictable, and brutally human.
The sources we've looked at really emphasize this. Tolstoy completely shifts our perspective. Instead of just focusing on, like, military genius or grand strategies, he shows you the raw, lived experiences of regular soldiers and how war completely upends the lives of everyday people. It makes you question the idea that, like, history is just made by a few great individuals. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Right, it's all these individual stories coming together.
Yeah.
And that actually leads to this other fascinating thing, this tension that runs through the whole novel. Fate versus free will. It's like Tolstoy is constantly asking, do we really control our own lives, or are we all just swept along by these larger forces?
It's a really thought-provoking question, isn't it? What's particularly interesting is that Tolstoy gives us these situations where it seems like even our most carefully made choices are just completely insignificant compared to the sweep of history. Like, we think we're making these big decisions, but are we really?
Makes you think, for sure. And before we wrap up, I have to mention this because I know War and Peace has this reputation for being super long and dense, but honestly, our sources actually emphasize that Tolstoy's writing is incredibly engaging. It's not like a boring history book at all.
Not at all. His ability to bring 19th century Russia to life is incredible. The way he describes the details of daily life, the complexity of relationships, and then, of course, the sheer visceral reality of war. It's what makes it so accessible, even today. And the insights he offers about human emotions and motivations, they resonate across time.
So at the end of the day, War and Peace isn't just one thing, right? It's this wild mix of a historical epic, a deep philosophical exploration, and these incredibly personal stories all woven together.
It's that blend that's the key. His ability to balance all those elements is what gives the novel its staying power and what keeps people coming back to it even centuries later.
So to wrap up this deep dive, what we've seen from our sources is that War and Peace, it really gives us profound insights into human nature. It forces us to confront the true realities of war, and it constantly makes us think about the connection between our own lives and the forces of history. All that wrapped up in a story that you actually want to read.
And it leaves us with this question, something for you to think about. Given how Tolstoy explores fate versus free will, and how individual choices can seem so small in the face of these huge historical events, how does that change the way you look at your own life? The choices you make and the forces that are shaping your world today.
Lots to ponder.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into War and Peace. Definitely one to add to the reading list, folks.
Absolutely.